Denver gets a new threat from the Trump administration and tells them to stick it.
So we're here today to let them know that our answer is hell no.
Thornton police say their officer did nothing wrong, searching flock surveillance databases 10,000 times. We may have to weather some weather this week. When we asked for all the moisture we can get, should have put a limit on that request. And it's American history making the rounds of the country by air.
I love that I get to work with all these objects that most people don't get to see.
All aboard the Freedom Plane, tonight on Next. Denver hasn't been the main character in the Trump administration's legal dramas in a hot minute, so I suppose we were due. And now the feds are coming after the city and the state if they won't roll back gun laws that the Trump administration doesn't like. The DOJ is threatening lawsuits. Our Mark Salinger has the city's response, which starts with shove and ends with it.
So we're here today to let them know that our answer is hell no.
On the steps of the city-county building Monday, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston made it clear what his city thinks of the Trump administration's demand to roll back gun laws.
No, we will not roll back a common sense policy that has kept weapons of war off of these city streets for 37 years. No, we will not put first responders at greater risk every time they respond to a dangerous incident. No, we will not go back to a time when folks are worried about walking into movie theaters or grocery stores or public elementary schools.
2 letters written in similar formats made their way from Washington to Denver last week. The Department of Justice is demanding Denver repeal its ban on assault weapons and Colorado stop enforcing its ban on large-capacity magazines. If they don't, the Trump administration is threatening to sue.
When our president attacks policies like Denver's assault weapons ban, he isn't just challenging a law, he's challenging our right to decide what keeps our neighborhoods safe.
City council members and state lawmakers stood behind the mayor, including Democratic Senator Tom Sullivan, whose son was killed in the Aurora Theater shooting.
Senate Bill 3 passed last year. We didn't do a full-fledged assault weapons ban. We did the next best thing, which because high-capacity magazines are what put the mass in the mass shootings.
Now the Trump administration wants Colorado to stop enforcing it. Same with the city's ban on assault weapons, which has been in place since 1989. Denver's city attorney says it's already been tested in court.
This ordinance is not unconstitutional. No question about it. 6 court of appeals have found that similar ordinances fully comply with the Second Amendment.
The Trump DOJ disagrees, saying it violates the Second Amendment. Now the threat of a lawsuit could head to court.
As you know, Colorado has a long and painful history with assault weapons. In Colorado, you only have to say the places: Columbine, Aurora, Boulder, and the rest of the memories and pain comes flooding back.
Mayor Johnston told me today he's not aware of any other states or cities receiving similar letters in the last week. Denver and Colorado as a whole have been targeted by the Trump administration over recent months for their policies on things like immigration and now guns. Lawyers here have responded saying that they won't comply with those demands. Now we'll see what the DOJ does next.
And we know, right, the Trump stated strategy is to flood the zone with a lot of action to see where they can get concessions, see where they can get courts on their side. So we don't really know what they're going to do in the end if Denver doesn't comply.
We really don't know what comes next. An interesting point about why this matters, right? I also talked to the police chief today. He said in the last year they recovered 2,100 guns in Denver. Only 40 of them were assault weapons. He's using that as a metric to say this ban is working. So if the DOJ goes forward and says, hey, we want to dismantle this and we're going to take you to court to do that, that's what's at stake here.
All right, Mark Salinger, thank you. Thornton police just investigated a Thornton police officer, and Thornton police found the Thornton police officer did not violate Thornton police policy by running more than 10,000 flock surveillance searches in 2 years. The investigation came out of a complaint from a left-leaning citizen group. The complaint said this one officer ran 19,000 searches of the tracking database over about 2 years, more than 25 searches per day if the officer was working every day of the week. Thornton police say the actual total was about half that, 10,000 searches, and more importantly, said they found no policy violations. At the time that officer flocked about half the city, Thornton police did not require officers to enter a case number or any information to justify a search. That has since changed based on community pushback. The department has also added more frequent internal audits of its flock searches. The man charged in the deadly anti-Semitic attack in Boulder last June is expected to plead guilty to state charges that'll put him away for life. Mohammed Solomon is accused of throwing Molotov cocktails at a group of people who'd gathered in support of Israeli hostages in Gaza. One person died, more than a dozen were hurt. In a court filing, Soleiman's attorneys say he's set to plead guilty to all state charges this week, including first-degree murder, and he'll be sentenced to life in prison. He's also offered to plead guilty to federal hate crime charges, but the feds are still deciding whether to pursue the death penalty. Soleiman's lawyers are asking to stop the deportation of his family, arguing that they could be critical witnesses in any federal case. Soleiman's ex-wife and their children spent 10 months in an ICE detention facility in Texas before a judge ordered their release. Then they were taken back into custody, then released again within a span of 4 days. The family all along has insisted they knew nothing about the plans to attack that Jewish community group in Boulder. Colorado's joined a coalition of 22 states asking the U.S. Supreme Court to preserve access to abortion medication. On Friday, the Fifth Circuit reinstated a rule requiring patients to get the drug mifepristone in person. That then blocks telehealth and mail access to the drug. This morning, the Supreme Court temporarily suspended the ruling until next week. The group of states is asking the Supreme Court to pause the ruling until there's a final decision in the case. Ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, Colorado's seen an increase in out-of-state patients coming here seeking abortions. Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser argues that banning telehealth would place an even greater strain on clinics providing that abortion care. Tell you what, there have been lower-scoring Broncos games than what we saw out of the Avs Wild Game 1 last night. 15 goals in a hockey game, a postseason game? That's too many goals. That's not right. The Avs blew a 3-goal lead, then came back to win by 3 goals. 9-6, the final. It honestly looked more like the score of a boring football game or a Coors Field slugfest. We checked, and only once in postseason history have the Rockies scored at least 9 runs. That was 2007, Game 2 of the divisional against the Phillies, game they won 10-5. The Avs head into Game 2 tomorrow at Ball Arena, but it will be inside viewing only, no outdoor fan party because of the impending white doom. Or is it boon? Honestly, it could go one way or the other because free water dents the drought, but the way this spring storm is shaping up, Chris Bianchi, this has the potential to either be really beneficial or really destructive, or I suppose both.
Exactly, and I suspect, Kyle, we're going to probably split the middle. So let's kind of start things off with a couple of those pre-storm kind of things to do. First of all, don't park under a tree. This is, I suppose, kind of obvious, but don't park underneath the tree. These are we're going to go in order of the easiest things to do to the hardest. Cover those backflow preventers, remove those hoses, and cover and bring in that tender vegetation and trim those suspicious hanging branches, those kind of low ones that look like they're a little floppy. Yeah, you might want to trim those up here while you can. Try and do that tomorrow during the day. So let's kind of walk you through the forecast. First of all, rest of the evening, we do have some rain showers around, some mountain snow as well. This is not really the main event. Tomorrow, we'll start to see that rain and snow develop from north to south during the day tomorrow. Then as that rain snow continues tomorrow, it's a second cold front that arrives tomorrow night around sunset. That is what's going to bring us the more real deal snow tomorrow night. So really here, folks, tomorrow during the day, I suspect I'm going to get a lot of tweets going, what do you mean? What snow, right? It's going to be that low impact snow that mostly melts on contact for lower elevations. Tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, that's the prime time. That's when we really get the real deal snow out of this. And then for us here in the Denver metro area, 4 to 8 inches most likely. The foothills, 8 to 18 inches, especially in the Boulder, Larimer County foothills. Somebody here above 9,000 feet is going to come in with 2 feet of snow. The way I like to look at it, again, probability based, 4 to 8 inches most likely. However, if that snow, we kind of use up all that precipitation during the day tomorrow, that would be the kind of better case scenario where we get some of that slush, but it's generally a lower impact event. And that snow, heaviest for us, again, tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, then we dry out and warm up. And by the way, one final thing to note, low temperature 25 Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So this is a hard freeze event as well. Cover up those backflow preventers and, of course, also remove those hoses.
Someone's life story changed with your generosity last week. Your latest weekly Word of Thanks microgiving campaign raised about $45,000 for the nonprofit Housed, Working, and Healthy, which helps people who've been living on the streets get all three in life: housed, working, and healthy. I want to tell you about a new way to track the impact of your giving, $18 million worth over the last 6 years, and to see specifically where in Colorado you've helped our neighbors. You can now go to wordofthanks.org, wordofthanks.org. That's also where you can nominate a nonprofit that is making an impact in Colorado. You can make a suggestion about an impact that a nonprofit that you know about. Also, if you work for a nonprofit that you think would be a good fit for our community's generosity, you can nominate your own organization there through an application form. I review every nomination and application personally. So swing by wordofThanks.org, and if nothing else, take a look at all the good you've done.
This bill isn't about the most violent offenders. This is about people who are going to get out of jail. They are going to get out of jail.
Colorado's prisons are full. The governor says build more prisons. His fellow Democrats have another idea. And some of our country's founding documents are going on a journey for America's 250th birthday. They are making a stop here in Denver. That's next. Colorado's prison system is hundreds of prisoners over budget, straining bed space and leading to tough decisions about who should be locked up and where. Our Angeline McCall looks at the fixes being considered at the state capitol.
Colorado prisons are almost at capacity. In January, there was just a 3% vacancy rate with about 18,000 people locked up. It's an issue Democratic State Representative Javier Mabry says hasn't gotten any better during his time in office.
Every year that I've been in the legislature, this is my 4th year, we come and the Department of Corrections asks for more money because they need to house more people.
The legislature passed 2 bills to tackle the problem last week, despite opposition from some Republicans and others who testified.
This bill comes down to letting violent criminals out, then no. Stop releasing criminals and build more prisons.
The first allows youthful offenders to receive parole from the State Board of Parole if inmates who are younger than 21 when they committed the crime complete a specialized program.
Senate Bill 26158 is about, as my co-prime has indicated, it's about fairness, accountability, and second chances.
The second recalculates earned time, meaning offenders could get out sooner if they participate in certain programs. Mabry says it could be the difference of an earlier release of about 8 months on a roughly 10-year sentence.
The goal here is that this is part of an all-of-the-above strategy to reduce the cycle that we've been in where we keep putting more money in DOC in spite of the fact that crime is going down.
Mabry says these measures will help, but won't cure a problem they've been talking about for years.
I would say that these bills are modest and they're not transformative. We could do much, much more to make sure that we're taking a harder look at overcrowding in our prisons.
Mabry says these bills are not about the most violent offenders, but those who are expected to be eligible for release and also combat rising incarceration rates since COVID, even though we've seen crime rates trending down. Kyle?
So as we often say, Angeline, right, the split at the Capitol is not so much Democrats versus Republicans because there just aren't that many Republicans up there. So it's kind of like centrist Democrats and typically Governor Polis and then progressive Democrats. Where is he on what they're talking about?
Yeah, something that he proposed was actually opening 2 additional prisons earlier this year. We know that there are over 600 inmates that are currently in the system, and they don't get the funds for those people, right? They didn't account for it in the budget, and so they're really at a cornerstone here.
All right, limited time left in the session. We'll continue to follow it. Angeline McCall, thank you. So Democratic Governor Jared Polis' first veto of the legislative session is likely coming soon. For the second year in a row, we expect that he's going to kill a bill, making it easier for labor organizations to impose fees on all workers and not just union members. Polis vetoed this bill last year, said he'd do it again unless the business community was on board. Federal law allows employees to unionize with a simple majority vote. Colorado law adds a second step, requiring a supermajority vote before unions can collect certain fees from non-union employees. The bill from progressive Democrats at the Capitol would get rid of that second vote. They argue that unions provide protection to all employees, whether they're in the union or not, so all employees should pay fees. When the governor vetoed this last year, he said Colorado's Labor Peace Act protects worker choice and creates a stable environment between unions and employers.
Freedom Plate is very exciting. We're one of 8 venues that it will be coming to.
For the first time ever, documents from our nation's founding are going on tour, and they're making a stop in Denver. Hey, a reminder, you found us on Channel 20 or streaming on 9 News Plus. If you want to skip the jumping around from night to night as we dodge basketball games, you can always find us 6 p.m. weeknights streaming on 9 News Plus. And we're a podcast. It's the show, but you don't have to look at me. A once-in-a-generation exhibit is about to arrive in Denver, bringing some of the most important documents in American history along with it. It's part of a nationwide tour marking 250 years of America American. Our Byron Reed has that.
But this is something I have to do to make sure that...
An ounce of prevention goes a long way.
And this is a suction cup. It's not just for spies in movies.
For Samantha Stamps-Tinhove, it's for a mission that's not impossible.
Pretty much, yes. Except I'm not skilled inside of buildings, but still interesting. So here we have our barrel from Barrel Man.
Stamps-Tinhove is the exhibits and loan registrar for the History Colorado Center, where they're getting ready to land an historic event.
Yes, Freedom Plane is very exciting. We're one of 8 venues that it will be coming to. It's very similar to the Freedom Train that happened for the bicentennial.
The exhibit, called Freedom Plane National Tour, features rare original pieces that help shape the nation, most leaving Washington, D.C. for the very first time.
They'll be sending some early documents from the founding of our country.
Documents like an original engraving of the Declaration of Independence, a draft version of the U.S. Constitution with handwritten notes, and even the Treaty of Paris, the agreement that officially ended the Revolutionary War.
We're going to have these objects fly in and have this big announcement when it comes in and have a lot of press and then have it come to us.
Stamps-Tinhove says behind the scenes, preserving these artifacts will be a meticulous process.
I'm helping them get to this space, making sure that everything is safely secured and that I am here to help them when they work on install the day after it comes in.
It's something she's done a few times before.
We have 15 million objects, so we definitely have to really stay on it to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be.
The hope is that visitors will share a unique experience in a museum that's taking all measures to be ready.
It's a chance for people who perhaps are new to this museum to get a chance to see the space, but also get a chance to appreciate that this is such a rare opportunity to see such documents.
For next,
I hope that they get a great experience of History Colorado.
I'm Byron Reed.
Beside the point, but the Barrel Man barrel thing is pretty sick. Freedom Plane is set to land at History Colorado later this month. Back with your feedback next. Feedback via text. Isn't that your Christmas jacket? I know it's going to snow. Has that got you in the mood for Christmas? I checked the pocket card, and in fact, I have worn this for the Christmas specials in 2021, 22, 24, and 25. And yes, I actually did grab it today because I'm like, it looks like something you'd wear when it's about to snow. John C. says, why does every weather person try to make the weather look like the sky is falling? I totally disagree on that. I think that Chris Bianchi's confidence forecast, where he says, here are the chances of all of these things, now you as a grown blank adult figure out what to do for yourself, is a pretty measured approach.